Hey, so recently I read some Steinbeck, some John Steinbeck for the first time. I read Of Mice and Men for the first time, and then I read the first 100 pages, or about around 15% of East of Eden. And now I want to condemn Steinbeck. It took a mere 200 pages for me to hate Steinbeck. Um, And yeah, I'm going to have the audacity to condemn an author's entire work based on one novella and 15% of a novel. Um, because, it's very clear from what I read what kind of an author Steinbeck was. He was an author with his head shoved firmly up his own ass. He was an author who did not give a damn about characters, who just wanted to say what he wanted to say, that he wanted to play around with literary devices, and he wanted to, to impart his wisdom, and however, you know, however he could, and you know, that was it. And the net result is he's a terrible author. He's a terrible writer. Um, I mean, it's not to say he didn't have talent. Okay, he could put together a sentence just fine. He could put together a paragraph just fine. It's not like he didn't have talent in that regard. He could narrate things. He could describe things just fine. Um, but what he did with that talent, what he did with that ability, was basically a betrayal of his talent and basically a betrayal of literature. But let me back up here a moment. With Mice and Men, I came to read that because it came up in a conversation. I don't know how, but it came up in a conversation that I was having with my mom. And when I told her I hadn't read it, she was like, "Oh, you should read it and find out what it's about." She hasn't read it, but she told me I should read it, so I did. And when I got to the end of it, I was like, "Oh, that's it. That's the okay. I guess that was a thing." Didn't really leave much of an impression on me, which was, one way or the other. It wasn't like I liked it. It wasn't like I disliked it. It was just kind of neutral. It left me with kind of an almost aggressive indifference, which was bizarre. You would think you would have some reaction, but then, while I didn't find the story engaging, I did. It was easy to read. Like I said, he could write. He could put those sentences together, and it was pretty breezy to get through. Um, it just wasn't. It didn't feel like I didn't feel like there was much there. And I'll get back to that. But even though I didn't enjoy the novella, it did get me interested in Steinbeck. So I decided to read East of Eden, which is evidently his magnum opus, even according to him. Like, this was the book that I have been preparing for my entire life. Every other book has been a preparation for this one. This is the culmination of everything I've written and everything I've learned through writing. This is my masterpiece. Evidently, that's according to him what it was. And it's a piece of shit. Okay. Now, the first few pages I was actually enjoying. The first few pages where he's describing the scenery of California and in one particular family, I was like, okay, I'm kind of digging this. I can do this. This is fine. But that didn't last. Once he started getting beyond just the preliminaries, it got weird, and not in a good way. It was just like, wait a minute, this character was this, and now he's this, and his relationship with his brother is now this, but it was this, and how what? Oh, and now we're onto a brand new character, like 80 pages in or something. And she's there's a female character in East of Eden who's a monster. And we know she's a monster because Steinbeck tells us she's a monster. He starts the chapter talking about monsters. There's a intermediate, there's sometimes it's a first person narration, sometimes it's not. It just kind of, whatever. It just kind of goes back and forth. But he starts off by saying, I believe there are monsters in human form in this world, or something like that. But they don't know they're monsters. They're so outside of normal human things that and they're so used to what's going on with them that they think we're all weird when they're the weird ones, and blah, blah, yeah. And he goes on for I don't know how long, a couple pages or more, but I don't know. He goes on and on about monsters, and then he's like, this woman was a monster, and in days gone by she would have been accused of being possessed of a demon, or would have been exorcised or burned at the stake. Or he goes into all that before he even introduces the bitch, instead of actually just, storytelling, instead of actually just telling us what this character does and says, and her relationship with other people. I mean, instead of just basic storytelling, basic character development. No, he's like, he goes on this big preaching thing, which is big for Steinbeck. Preaching. He loves preaching. Oh, he loves preaching. He loves worshiping his own shit. He loves just he was probably a self-professed prophet or something. That's what he feels like. Some kind of self-professed prophet, some self-professed genius. Listen to my genius. Listen to my amazing observations. And he's all about allegory. He loves the allegory. He loves the symbolism. He loves he's not a storyteller. He is not a storyteller. He does not tell stories. He does not create characters. His characters are just there to be symbols of something, or to to say something that he wants to say through them, or they're not characters in their own right. None of them feel like actual genuine characters. They're just they're just marionettes dancing to whatever tune Steinbeck wants them to dance to at the moment. In a normal story, you have you have the plot. You have the characters, and the characters' their personalities, their motivations. You have conflicts that need to be resolved, and then you have the themes that come out of all of that. And when you have a good story and people are enjoying it, they'll talk amongst themselves about that, about the characters and the motivations, talk about the conflicts, talk about the themes that come out of it. But Steinbeck has it all ass backwards. He cares about the themes, the concepts, and the symbolism and shit. First and foremost, doesn't give a damn about the characters. Doesn't give a damn about the plot. The plotting is just, in Mice and Men, it was, Mice and Men wasn't nearly as bad as East of Eden, but it was also, it just felt empty. The characters, most of them didn't really feel like characters. The whole situation felt artificial. It felt very, very contrived. So it wasn't really relatable. Now, maybe back in the day when he wrote it, when it was published, people were more familiar with what it was referring to. But now it just feels totally contrived. And the characters feel mostly contrived. Candy feels almost human. I think his name was Candy, the old man who's like hey, I got some money I can put into helping you buy this land. Um, now, um, Mice and Men has some good themes in there. The theme of a man wanting his own property, wanting his own place that he works on, and to be able to, instead of working for someone else, and to be able to directly reap the fruits of their labors on that land. That's a great theme. It's an important theme. And then there's the theme of loneliness that's in that story. Very powerful theme. But Steinbeck doesn't handle those themes well. He doesn't develop them well because he doesn't develop the characters, and it falls flat. It feels like there's potential here, but it ain't going nowhere. Um, and honestly, and the only character I actually felt sorry for this is a novel filled with suffering people, right? If you can call them people, right? But the only person I felt sorry for was actually the wife of the boss's son. I forget the name of the boss's son now, but he was a terrible man, terrible person. If Mice and Men has a villain, it's him. He's a terrible person, and really he's he's the cause of all the problems in the story. But this woman is married to him. She doesn't like him, understandably. And when she's surrounded by all these other men, but none of these other men want to have anything to do with her because they just see her as being potential trouble. So she's unhappy in her marriage. She's lonely. She's bored. She's young. It's a bad situation for her. So I felt sorry for her. But she doesn't get a name, and then well, I mean, spoiler, she dies. And then, which honestly, might have been the best thing for her. I mean, that's a horrible thing to say, but at least it got her out of the story. It's like, yeah, you don't want to be a character in a Steinbeck story. And then Lenny it didn't sound believable. He's the mentally challenged person, and all he wants is to just touch soft things, to pet soft things, mice and rabbits and women's hair. I mean, which is understandable, don't we all? And he's ridiculously strong. Ridiculously strong. He's like built like a T-800. And that's it. That's his entire character. Now, granted, he is a mentally challenged person. He's got like the mind of like a 5-year-old, so there's a limitation there. And I don't know. I don't have much experience with mentally challenged people, so I don't know how close or off or far up in the mark that Steinbeck was in his description of Lenny, of a mentally challenged person. But as a character in the story, he just didn't connect. He didn't feel believable. I sympathized with him wanting to touch soft things, but otherwise, he was not a fully realized character. And George is pretty one note. To get any substance out of George, you almost have to read it into it. It is a story where there's so little that it gives to you that you automatically it offers so little as a story that you automatically start asking what it means. It means this. It's about this. That's not the first thing you think of in a properly told story. You're talking about properly told story. You're talking about the characters. You're talking about the conflicts and the and how they they complicate how they interact and how they're resolved and stuff, and themes and stuff. But you don't start thinking about what the story means, what it's about. Um, that's the sign of a poorly done story. And Steinbeck is a prime example of an artist who is driven by agenda, or driven by agenda. It's serving some particular vision or whatever. When an artist is a pure artist, a real artist, and he's trying to serve his art and just trying to get the art to work as well as possible as a work of art, usually what happens is that piece of art winds up expressing truths that just as a kind of as a byproduct of being a proper work of art. And they may be truths that the artist isn't even aware of, that he didn't intend to put there, but in his service to his art, he wound up having, putting those truths in there, and wound up having certain beautiful ideas in there just by serving his art. Whereas you have someone like Stein, on the other hand, you have people like Steinbeck and a lot of people these days where they're trying to push a certain viewpoint through their art, and they're not serving the art. They're serving this agenda, and the art suffers. It doesn't work as art usually, and so after I decided I hated Steinbeck, I went on Goodreads and I went to read the 1-star reviews of his stuff, and there was a 1-star review of Grapes of Wrath, which of course I haven't read, but it was a really good review written by a woman, and it was all about how it wasn't a properly told story. That was all about symbolism and literature devices, literature devices and preachiness and stuff, but not proper storytelling. And it was interesting that even though it was a criticism of Grapes of Wrath, it could have totally been a criticism of East of Eden. It worked perfectly for East of Eden, and for Mice and Men, and it probably would have worked for everything Steinbeck has written. And it's also interesting in some of the going through some of those Goodreads reviews where in each one there was usually someone who said, I usually like Steinbeck, but I hated this one. And it's like, I don't think you've realized that he's actually consistent. From what I can tell, he's consistent. He's a consistent asshole. And he does, and he's supposed to be this person who's like describing the plight of the downtrodden man, right? Talking about the lower class and what they have to go through and blah blah. He didn't give a shit about them. Come on, no, he's not doing that. He's not being a champion for the common man. And there's no sense that he loves the common man or humanity in general. The sense I got was that he thinks that human beings are disgusting. That he thinks all human beings are disgusting. That his description of what people go through and what people do, lower class or not, that they're just disgusting. That they're just pathetic. I got the impression that he was basically fatalistic and nihilistic, and also there's supposed to be like some like religious symbolism or something in East of Eden especially. I don't think Steinbeck had a clue what the hell he was talking about when it came to that sort of thing. Um, um, no, I don't think he understood religion. I don't think he understood human beings. I don't think he wanted to. I think he just wanted to look in the mirror and uh, and feel superior. Um, that's it. And and it occurred to me that he's completely the opposite of Tolkien. Tolkien famously disliked allegory. Steinbeck's all about the allegory, right? And and also and also um, Tolkien wrote actual stories, yet with actual plots, with actual like, okay, this is what these characters are trying to do. This is how they're going. This is the ordeals they go through to get there. These are their motivations. um, it's regular storytelling, and it's beautifully done. Beautifully done. Even when he's describing characters and events um, that are horrible, he doesn't describe them in a crude way. He doesn't describe. He doesn't describe. Always. He keeps it elevated. He doesn't. He doesn't descend into the grime to try to describe the grime. He can describe the grime in a way that doesn't get your mind grimy, and he does that. His Lord of the Rings, Hobbit, filled with beautiful things. Not only beautiful in what he's talking about sometimes, but beautiful in how he's presenting it, how he's using the language. Steinbeck is completely the opposite. I don't think even he even knew that there was such a thing as beauty in the world, or didn't want to. He's all about the grime. He's all about being crude. Um, he's all In one way, you could almost say he's all fall and no redemption. Though I think that would be being too generous. Um, that because I think it'd be too generous, because that would suggest that he actually has an understanding of the fall. I don't think he did. I don't because if he had an understanding of the fall, he would have actual sympathy and love for the human race. He didn't. He didn't. Um, so, yeah. Steinbeck he was terrible. A terrible author, and I heartily recommend everyone to not read him. Even if you are assigned to read him in school, refuse to do it. Refuse to do it until you're until your teacher they're a fool. I mean, I can't believe they actually assigned this in school. It's like they're trying to teach people to hate books. I mean, this is. But then again, if they assigned actual good literature, the teacher wouldn't have as much to do, would they? Because good literature actually is kind of self-explanatory. It's like actually lays it out reasonably. Like, oh yeah, here's the story. Here, here's the plot. Here are the characters. Here's their motivations. Yeah, yeah, I get it. Yeah, you can understand it. Fine. All the teacher has to do is make sure the students have basic reading comprehension. Done. But with Steinbeck, they can be up there in the class and saying, "Oh, look, this stands for this. This stands for this, and this foreshadows this, and and it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit because you can't have deeper meaning without surface meaning, and there is no surface meaning in Steinbeck. There's no surface value in Steinbeck. There's none. There's no, for that matter, there's no deeper meaning. I mean, the idea, that old idea that art is supposed to express truth and beauty. Well, there's certainly no beauty in Steinbeck, and as far as truth is concerned, for him, it's basically whatever he sees when he's looking around his colon, since his head is firmly up his ass. Um, uh, he's a conceited, uh, pretentious, um, preachy asshole who. I mean, I'm not going to say he's a complete idiot, because he clearly has put some thought into things. He's got a lot to say. But some of it is said very clumsily, very poorly. Some of it is stupid. And clearly it shows a lack of real understanding. And some of it just simply shows a lack of caring. Strangely enough, it's more of an intellectual pride than an actual empathy with his fellow man. So yeah. Anyway. Yeah. How did it get 26 minutes? I don't want. I guess I've said all there is to that should be said. I don't really want to talk about it anymore. So, just the hell with Steinbeck. Read something else. Read some Charles Dickens, who talked about the poor and the downtrodden in a way that was actually respectful and actually not crude. And or if you want something American similar to Steinbeck, I would recommend some Flannery O'Connor. She offers a lot of what Steinbeck has to offer, only done actually well. I'm actually not a big fan of O'Connor, but that's not a her problem. It's a me. But there are a few stories of hers that I like, but most of them don't really work for me. Don't really connect with me. But I can't say that she's not good. She is good. Or or just reread Lord of the Rings, like I'm doing now. Lord of the Rings is a perfect antidote to Steinbeck. So I'm very glad that I own that book and can pull it off and go right back into that. So yeah, whatever you do, do not read Steinbeck because he is a piece of shit. Thanks for listening. Bye.